That's kind of how it works, right? So we'll be back at all-time highs, I assume, within the next like 3 days because more money into the system. 66.73, a 1.1% pop on the S&P 500. Russell at 24.47. Silver is up 5.7%, cracking that $50 level. Gotta love to see that. Gold up to 4,100. So, what's the lesson in this? Don't short over the weekend. Basically has been my philosophy for the last 5 years. Remember, during COVID, we had these incidents where the market would fall pretty sharply on a Friday, and then all of a sudden you would wake up on a Sunday, you would have a nice little day, you'd go watch maybe some spring training baseball, have a good time, and then all of a sudden the Federal Reserve injects $1 trillion into the financial markets and the equity squeeze. I do not recommend shorting over the weekend. It remains a criminal activity if you do that. All right, everything is pretty much up except for the VIX, canola, and Bitcoin. I don't know. I feel sorry for you if you're a Western Canadian farmer, long canola right now, but everything else is up on the day. Today, it is October 13th. We have no data this week because, the government shut down. Just another day in paradise in the United States of America. Who we got? No hurricanes. Edwin's chatting. So is Taco when the market drops. Trump. All right. Edwin's here. We know that. That's good. We're going to talk about momentum. We'll talk about this week and the runner at 9 o'clock. All right. So why are you with us today? Well, you're here every day because once again, at 9:30, you become the liquidity of this market. And I want to point something out. Just because the futures are up right now does not mean that the markets are not panicked. Everybody is still trying to make sense of this weekend. People are looking at what came out from China, where they said that there was a miscommunication. President Trump came out and talked about how great Jinping Xi is. Yeah, that was something. But nonetheless, China's saying that they won't back down from a trade war and that they won't back down from any of this. Tom Petty. Ugh. I had a conversation with my wife 2 days ago, and I said, "Do you remember when you were a Tom Petty fan for like a day?" And she goes, "No, I love Tom Petty. I listen to. I brought it up because it won't back down." Seriously, can you name more than 5 Tom Petty songs? She couldn't. She couldn't even get the lyrics right. The stocks that are actually worth engaging and trading today, Secret Agent Charlie saying that he can. Okay, you guys are on a different planet than me. Whether the market is safe or it's a day to trap, exactly where the smart money is positioning. Stop it. You don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't love Tom Petty. No, you don't. Stop it. Momentum minus 47. All right, look, this is going to snap back today. No doubt about that. And this is what we looked like on Friday at the close. This is absolute chaos. Friday was a huge sell-off day because of sheer panic. Everybody knew that the valuations were stretched. Everybody knew that the markets were over-leveraged and the leverage unstuck, right? Really quickly. So minus 47, we are right across the board. I'm just going to tell you right now, this will be green at around 9:45. No doubt about it. Markets are pushing back. Allman Brothers are so much better. I agree. Thank you. I agree with that. Tom who? See, Ed knows. This is a good bit. I'm going to stick with this bit. Everybody was a Tom Petty fan for 3 days. No, you weren't. We're right across the board, minus 47. And the key thing here is to look for snapback moves. So today it's going to be very critical for you as a trader to trade volume weighted average price and trade directionally. So as I went through on Friday, or forgive me, on Thursday of last week, I was talking about the 8, 20, and 50-day adjusted for our traders who are part of the NVIDIA 4D. And if you are a member of the NVIDIA 4D, I'm going to remind you right now, you know what we talked about on Thursday. You remember. You know exactly what lines you are looking for. And if you're not a member of NVIDIA 4D, well, this was an error on your part. because once again, there is opportunity that is going to present itself across the board on all companies like Nvidia today, all companies like Tesla. You simply have to know how to trade it and exactly what lines you need to be looking at in order to trade effectively. All right, on top of that, we're going to go across the board real quick. I have lost somehow my presentation. That is very frustrating. For some reason, it did not load. So give me 1 second, and I'm going to get my charts. All right. Wow, nothing's working today. What a great day. There we go. So I do want to point something out. If you have the chance, all right, if you are not a member of our 9:30 to 4 o'clock coverage of the markets, if you're not a member of TheoTrade, I'm going to make something very simple for you. Okay. You can click the link that we're going to put into the chat in a moment, and you can name your own price. And I'm going to tell you right now, for about half of the price of a movie theater ticket, you can get live access every single day for 30 days on your price. And I'm not pitching this because I think it's a great product. It is, but I'm going to tell you what your alternative is. I made the huge mistake yesterday of going and seeing one battle after another. It was so bad that 10 people walked out of the movie theater in the first hour. I was the only person there for the last 10 minutes. And then I left. So instead of paying $20 to see a movie that no one should see, join TheoTrade. Join us. All right. We are scrambling right now because technology has failed us. But look, just bear with it today. Today's the day to just go with it. All right. It's Monday. Everything's fine. We'll shrink this down. We'll get it all in order. Gold, 53% up on the year. That's the beauty of it. We're doing everything live today. This is great. We'll just delete that. That looks good. Okay, good. 4,000. Gold's gained 53% year to date, strongest year since 1979. GLD, SLV, PPLT, Newmont, Gold, and Royal Gold. Why does it matter? Well, again, surging alongside of the equities in the crypto, more liquidity than ever in the financial system. This is unusual safe haven behavior for most investors, but the reality is they just keep printing money and they just keep accommodating. And after what just happened on Friday, the expectation should remain the same. China is going to keep pumping as they have been. Look at the companies that are involved in the gold mining space. Look at the Chinese names. Look at Alibaba after that huge drop that it has had over the last 2 weeks. We've hit the pivotal point, and now the question is, how much higher does gold go? I think we hit 4,500 by the end of the year at this point. Driven by inflation concerns, U.S. dollar weakness, central banking, obviously pay very close attention to the dollar. But again, you saw that article that we talked about last week where the Wall Street Journal said people are losing faith in central banks. We lost faith in central banks years ago. But now the media is catching up, which means the mainstream is catching up, which means the people who aren't paying attention to this finally are. This is one of those things where you're going to go to a barbershop and people are going to start talking about monetary policy. Yes, especially in Baltimore because our sports teams are terrible. We need something else to complain about. Can gold hold above 4,000? 100%. ETF and fund flows into metals. Again, ETF flows were very strong on gold a week and a half ago. We are going to continue to see gold ETFs have to catch up on their buying. Miners versus spot performance. The GDX has been one of the top performers of the year. And again, U.S. dollar treasury yields. I encourage you to pay very close attention to the UUP, which is the dollar bullish index, and the dollar is holding up right now. But if the dollar moves under that 820 and, of course, 50-day moving average, this will become a short. And we're going to be very patient about this because the long-term trend for the dollar is expected more weakness. So I want you to write the UDN down. I want you to put it on a piece of paper, and I want you to stick it right next to your computer. And every day for the next 2-3 weeks, I want you to get up and I want you to look at this chart, the UDN, the bearish index for the dollar. The beauty of this fund, right? This is all tied around US futures, dollar futures, is the fact that when this breaks up above these key moving averages, if you go out 1 month, you're going to pay pennies for time. So instead of putting up $1,855, you're going to be able to control 100 shares of the UDN using call options for about $57 to $60. And you don't need a big move. This is one of the very nice things about trading the dollar. It's all very technical. You see the moves, they're very clear on the lines. You see the move above the 8 and the 50-day and the 20-day moving average. And the nice thing about this is a dollar movement on options with an extremely cheap implied volatility rank. I'm talking like down at the 1 level. There's no volatility here. Oddly enough, the dollar has been more volatile 3 times in the last decade than the S&P 500. Happened last week. That said, if we get back above these key moving averages, buy the in the money call for the UDN. All right, moving on. Can't do anything with this. Look at this. Who did this? Oh, I did it. Oh, I think it's perfect then. It's absolutely perfect. Now I have to go in. I set things up in PowerPoint. Look at that. Look, I mean, this is just incredible how good of a job I am doing right now at just fixing problems. If only I could solve our monetary policy. Now I have coffee over my face. Federal Governor Barr has warned that inflation is still a threat. And by the way, everybody, water is wet. So we got that going for us, which is nice. All right, ticker focus, TLT, ZB futures, the SPY, the Qs, and the XLF. The financials need to be in focus. Again, the bond market is closed today, everybody, which means pay attention to the 3-minute chart on Mr. XLF, looking for the banks to get a little crazy today. But with the bond market not in focus today, the thing that matters most about this is that tomorrow we have JP Morgan reporting earnings, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, everybody, right? Okay, so without a bond market in focus, and I want you to pay very close attention to the fact that on the 30-minute chart, we are oversold. We are oversold on the hourly. Look for the XLF to squeeze a little bit today. And then let's see what happens when we get into the first hour, because if we push higher into that first hour, we may see some level of, I don't know how to define this the right way, panic selling. Okay, remember, the purpose of a market is to sell. So the key thing to keep in focus right now is the fact that a lot of funds, a lot of managers missed the selling opportunity on Friday. That's what we are watching today. We are watching and we are trying to determine whether or not this is the start of something or it was just a one-off on Friday. Now, my gut always says probably a one-off because, once again, everybody wants to continue to crowd in on this, and then 2 weeks we won't talk about it anymore. But the broader point is that the XLF started selling off on Wednesday. It started selling off on Wednesday. You can see that in the chart, the October 8th sell-off. Now, the key thing here is now that we are oversold, how much do we squeeze? And that's why you got to pay attention to the deviation bands today. If we push up into the upper element of the deviation bands of the volume weighted average price, well, if we get up here and we'll probably see this gap up a little bit, but if we get up into that range, will funds sell? That's the key thing to keep in mind. I would be looking for a fade if we squeeze in the early morning, and then we're going to probably balance out toward the end of the day. Caution around the aggressive cuts being the issues on the labor market. Core PCE may remain above 3% into late 2025. Governor Barr, by the way, but inflation is going to be well above 3% for the next 2 years. I don't know what you're doing. Headline inflation may not hit 2% since until 2027. Yeah, we know that. But if they keep printing money, it's going to continue to be elevated. Watch the reaction in bonds. We don't have a bond market today. We will be looking for an adjustment tomorrow. CPI will come out later this month when the Fed actually has its meeting. So that's a little weird. And we have more speakers. Oh, no. One more of these, everybody. So if you don't know how to use Google Slides, let me just give you a little tutorial real quick. AI under scrutiny, regulatory risks. I do this every day at 7:30. It's the highlight of my day. Regulatory risks. Again, regulators are ramping up oversight of AI use. This is going to continue to be an issue, particularly in Europe, focusing on NVIDIA, Microsoft, Palantir, all the AI ETFs. Financial Stability Board and the BIS have again highlighted the systemic risk of both valuations and the concentration in AI. But that said, I love it. I love this kind of .com mania around a particular thing. It creates opportunities for traders. Again, if you are focusing on the key overbought, oversold, if you're looking at the 8-day, the 20-day, the 50-day, if you're looking at what Don is talking about with expected moves, if you're listening to what Brandon's talking about with his focus on options flow and what's kind of happening, some of these names can squeeze very, very quickly, and they can roll over very, very fast as well. We saw that happen with Big Bear on Friday, BBAI, right? All of a sudden, this thing looks great, has a huge squeeze. Trump talks. This stock absolutely dumps. This is a volume-weighted average price trade for today. This thing can easily get back to $8 if optimism returns to the market. All right, 9:03. I apologize, everybody. I should have been on top of this, but you know what? It's one of those days. Secret Agent Charlie is on top of it. We don't have his AI voice screaming "Da runner" yet, but we're going to get on it. COTY is our first name. Very exciting. Cody. Oh, there we go. Look at that. All of a sudden, it doesn't work. Perfect. That's what we want. There we go. Look at that. Very nice. Very nice. All right. How do we set up our charts? Well, we're going to look at the daily 1 minute, and we're going to add some things. And for some reason, it's not up. Why would it work? You know what? Nope. If you're not going to work for me, I'm not going to work for you. Unfair. We'll go back. All right. So, COTY, sorry, but not going to load. I'm going to move on. I got a show to do. 9:05. Okay. 9:05. Look at that. 4:20, everybody. Elon Musk approved, pushing above that 8-day moving average. We are looking for some sort of, again, everything sold off on Friday. Let's keep this in focus. COTY announced integration of fragrance businesses and a strategic review of its beauty. Who cares? What I care about is whether or not this is going to break above these key moving averages and if we can get a turn back to that 450 level. So I'm going to go pretty conservative on this. I'm just going to buy the stock. I don't need to trade options around this because, again, $425 for 100 shares. See if I can get back to 420, 450. Fine, $25. I'll buy myself the thing that I didn't buy this weekend. $25. I'll buy a blaster box of baseball cards. You could also look at the November $4 call, which is currently trading around 50 cents. But I just like buying anything under $5. I just like to buy the stock. It's the same thing. Don't overdo it. EVLV, what do you do? Well, it's either going to be cosmetics or it's going to be an EV company. It's neither. It's a security and protections company. Strong momentum continuing with that move off of that October 8th period. Again, another stock under 10 bucks. This is an unprofitable company. It's a Russell 2000 company. Don't know what it does, but I do know that momentum remains strong. If you want to be on the sidelines here and just see if it gets back to that $8 level, that would be fine. But momentum remains very, very strong. Nice movement on the RSI. Volume is light. I will warn that. That's why I'm saying maybe just think about a retest of that $8 level before we do anything silly. PLPC, preformed line products. Well, I think it's important to just say what you do, but I don't know what they do. Once again, electrical equipment and parts, preformed line products. Sounds like a front. I'm going to scratch this one, and I'm going to tell you why. This was in our breakout territory, but the reality is we're pushing against that. Until this gets back above that RSI of 50 and the MFI, scratch it. Don't try to push anything. I want you to keep very close eye, though, on the MACD. If the MACD flips and we do get positive momentum on the RSI and MFI, yes, I want to be back above that 20-day moving average at that 205 level. Nice pop this morning, though, 2.5%. That's why it showed up on our screener. I need to see that MFI and that RSI, though, flipping. On the negative side, I want you to be cautious about all of the negatives that I'm going to bring up today. And the reason is energy is squeezing a little bit. Again, last week we saw oil prices get crushed on Friday. And there's a good reason for that, right? Trade concerns, questions around China. The thing about what happened on Friday, and I wrote about it yesterday, and I will just remind you, neither country can afford this. We operate in an environment where people consistently think that China wants to be on its own. They don't. They use the US dollar as much as we do. It's part of their international trade. They will face a debt deflation problem the same way that we would if we engage in this breakup. If China and the United States were to come together right now and say, listen, we want nothing to do with one another, it would be a very messy divorce, and it would take multiple years to unwind all of the integration between the two. Seriously, China cannot do without us, and we cannot do without them. It is a very messy situation. So oil prices sell off. Again, we continue to think that China is going to simply wander off. Who are they going to sell their rare earth metals to? China. Who are they going to sell them to? India? Russia? They have a big enough consumer market for that? Probably not. So when energy has the capacity to snap back the way that it might, I want you to do the exact same thing that we usually do, which is pull up the XLE, go to volume weighted average price, and if you're going to fade energy on the back of what has happened on Friday, you are again looking for moves up here into the third upper standard deviation band before you attempt to short. Aside from that, though, pay very close attention to APA. I highly recommend that you watch the 3-day moving average on this. And what you're doing at this point is just simply looking for a crossover on the 24-minute and the 60-minute chart. And if it bails off and it sells off, you short. And if it flips, you try to go long. This is a very good day for day traders because at the end of the day, if you just follow the technicals and you don't do anything else, just follow the technicals, you're going to be okay. There's no bond market. There's still volatility. There's still lots of questions around China and the U.S. Energy is a good trade today, both on the positive and the negative side, depending on the movement on that 3-minute chart. That includes Halliburton as well. So everything upstream is in play. Devon, Halliburton, Schlumberger, WTI. All of these names will be on the move. We saw, again, the sell-offs off the backside here. But if you go back into previous parts of last week, you saw some short-term moves that were just, again, 80-20 day moving average moves. And you're just going to trade within the metrics. You're going to trade within these lines. Remember, as I continue to argue, 8-day, 20-day adjusted on the 3-minute chart. What you're doing is you're looking for the 8 8-day adjusted to push above the 20. You use the 20, that specific line. You use that key technical. You see this happened here. So again, 8 cracks above the 20. You use that, and if the stock falls back under the 8, you take your profits. So your entry is the 820 and your exit is the 8. Short-term momentum using options, again, 20, 30, 40 cents on some of these names can pay off very well. And it's a very nice little conservative trade. AppLovin sounds like a super bad name. Breaking out a little bit today. I don't know. For me, if I'm bearish on the market, I'm going to look for a move back up to 618, and then I would fade it there. Other horses to ride today. RXRX, Riot, and Tap. All right, so you know RXRX is a great little NVIDIA stock, and we're right at that 8-day moving average. So buying RXRX, looking for another pop back to 6. The stop is right there at the 8-day moving average of, well, 550. 3 cents. Not exciting, but still pretty good. What else we got? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Riot. Bitcoin trying very hard to bounce back. 21.52. On a stock like this, the last trade that we made on Tesla in the Tesla 4D, we sold spreads. We sold out into January the 13.11 put spread. So that means in the event that Riot pulls back, I am buying the stock at 13, really like 12.72. But the point here is now is an opportunity on some of these names. If you missed out and this market looking to get back into positive momentum territory, sell down at the 16 level, sell down at the 15 level, sell the 15 put December or January and buy either the 14 or the 13. I like the hyperscaler names. I like all the ex-crypto companies. I like the fact that, look, they are going to be the AI data center groups that people continue to ignore. And yes, a company like Riot, I'm going to tell you right now, is probably, in the event that we have another significant pullback in the financial markets, the stock is probably going to 10. But I want to own it because the long-term trend remains the same. More money printing. More monetary inflation, more printing, more printing, more printing. Riot, Hive, all of those names. Instead of trying to chase the momentum to the upside, you can sell spreads to the downside and make a nice little yield off of that. And then Tap, Molson. All right, Molson Coors. Look at you. Well, apparently, nobody is heading for the mountains with Bush. This stock has been beaten up bad in recent months. And again, you can look at the weekly. We're down at lows we have not seen since late 2021. How do you trade a name like this? What do? Do you try to buy? Well, once again, there's a couple of different ways to focus on this. First off, I want you to recall and be very knowledgeable of the fact that we are likely in the later stages of the momentum cycle, right? And likely in the later stages of the liquidity cycle. That means that we're going to move from high beta stocks. We've already seen the movement into the banks and the different commodities. Stage 3 of a liquidity cycle is into defensives. This stock is going to tell you when that money is rotating in. I want to point something out. This was back in February. That negative momentum event, that huge liquidity suck that we saw, the stock rocked the whole time through April, through that huge sell-off, through that spike, right? Big momentum movement down. Consumer defensives did well. Liquor companies, beer companies did very, very well. Okay, so there was a rotation into the defensives that happened in February and April. When we have the next big rotation out of the big mega cap, big tech stocks, it's going to end up back in these names. So what do? 20-day, 50-day EMA. We break above that 20, you buy the stock, or you buy call options or you do a spread. Right now, Molson Coors under a little bit of pressure. But I will tell you this, at the current valuation of this company, 9 times earnings, free cash flow under 10, price to book 64 cents on the dollar, price to sales 0.81. Consumer defensives are under a lot of pressure. And the EV to EBITDA on this at 6.3, it is mathematically cheap. You see volume picking up, you see MACD. What do you do in this environment? Sell spreads. Go all the way out to January. Go out a year from now if you want. Go out 6 months. Sell down at the $30 level. I'm just saying. You want to own a liquor company? You want to own a beer company? Sell spreads down at the lower part of a 33% move lower. You're going to get a good yield. And once again, this is a very difficult environment for traders and even harder for investors because, again, the economic situation with the U.S. government and what the government's doing and the way that it's trying to manage its debt and the way that we just continue to spin around in circles as more monetary inflation continues. Again, the Fed has been a mess for 5 years. They said inflation would be contained this year. It isn't. They're saying 2027 now. The question is, how much higher will interest rates remain for the foreseeable future? Trump wants to cut rates. Trump wants to push. Okay, if that's the case and if Powell is out, sell spreads past when Powell would be stepping down. That's mid next year. And I will tell you that when we start to see this rotation out of AI and rotation out of the Mag 7, and that will come because that is how leverage works in this environment, Molson Coors Beverage Company will go up 20%. You just have to keep the defensives in the back of your mind. All right. We got 2 minutes left. Watching Garrett on tech is really the hardest part. Yeah, I don't know how anything works. It's really funny, too, because people go, well, I don't know why you just can't figure it out. I'm 44. I know how to write. I know how monetary policy works. I can't. I own video games that I've never played because I can't turn the damn thing on. So it's fine. It's okay. Notice how the Taylor Swift message comes out first. Obviously more important. What are we talking about? Oh, well, that's good for my house. All right. So what about MO and PM? So I am long MO, and it's one of my biggest positions, Altria. Nobody's going to stop smoking cigarettes. Full stop. Love MO, and I love PM as well. PM, Philip Morris. These are full disclosure. I don't own Philip Morris. I do own Altria. I love this dividend, 6.5%. I got it when it was at 8. I'm long MO, old dog. I'm with you. We're gonna again, end of the world. Just gonna smoke heaters. It's gonna be great. Sitting outside a series watching Santelli just rip Marlboro Reds. That's a highlight of my early 20s. All right. You live in LJ, Aspire Brewing. Great. Drive a car. I know how the car works. I'm not getting, I do have to make a decision on this, though. I have a Honda that I'm a firm believer in not putting money in cars. I'm a firm believer in that. I don't like having to spend money on all of this, like bells and whistles and all the crap and the sensors and stuff like that. I think the average headrest now requires 4 semiconductor chips, just a headrest. Okay. So I got a 16 Honda HRV. It is a mess. It's fantastic. But I am thinking about going back a little bit, and that would be a baby blue Ford Bronco, 1987. I have to make a decision on that again. Like, it's one of those things that bothers me. Like, do I really want this? Do I need this? Do I want to put the capital into it? This is what I think about. This is what I think about pre-market. What should I be thinking about at 9:30? I would be thinking about what Don's going to tell us about volatility and the way the volatility has shifted in the last couple of hours. This is going to be a very good day for active traders. You only get a couple of days like this once a year, and it's just noise. And that's the beauty of it. It's the beauty of the fact that you're going to see things push off key technicals, pay very close attention to overbought, oversold territory on the 3-minute chart, on the 1-minute volume weighted average price part. This is going to be a day to trade. And if you're not a trader, if you don't understand how any of this works, get in the room with us today and just see how price action works. Part of the whole process of this is just taking a step back and watching charts, watching the way that money moves, watching the way that the RSI and the MFI and the ADX and the MACD operate. This is a day to trade. You had all this noise that happened on Friday. Now markets are going to try to recalibrate. It's going to be a great day. You should be making money today. And if you're not making money or you haven't had success in the past, get in the room with us. 9:30, 8 minutes. Don, put the thing in the chat in our room, Scott, please, and give the people the opportunity to name their own price and also take part in what I think is going to be one of the best trading days of the year. It is October 13th. We are honing in on Thanksgiving, on Halloween, where I will be dressing up like Bernie Sanders and butchering that imitation. But this is going to be a very good day. So take advantage of it. Get in the room with us. Take the trial. Do whatever you need to do and just learn how to trade, because the next 45 days of this market are going to be awesome heading into Black Friday. All right, everybody. Don's going to be up in a moment or two. I am going to take off, and I will be back here later today at 3 o'clock for the final hour. I hope you have a great trading day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.